A lot of people have been talking about Joe Rogan recently, specifically because of his handling of the clot shot, the Joe juice, the jokey pokey, the Fauci ouchie. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? And all the stuff that he said on his show regarding it, and whether or not people should be like taking the shot to protect themselves and things along those lines. How he's been a big lightning rod for people talking about. It's been a big thing, all right? And people are starting to now crack down on Spotify, and Spotify is now being pushed to do something about what he's been doing on their platform on his show ever since they spent like $100 million to keep him on. Wacky stuff. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I must say personally, for all this stuff to be going down. But he decided to go on his Instagram a couple of days ago, I think like 2 days ago now, to talk about everything that he thought about it. I haven't watched this any, so it's just like a couple minutes long. I just wanted to take a look at what he thinks about this. A lot of mons. It's $1 or $2 if I think about it. I mean, personally, YouTube ad revenue is fine, but I don't have that type of YouTube ad revenue personally. I don't have like 100 milli to be throwing around personally. So it's a couple more dollars than I have. It's too little rich for my blood. I want to take a look at this.
Hello, friends. I wanted to make a video to address some of the controversy that's been going on over the past few days. And first of all, to say thank you to everyone that sent love and support. I truly, truly appreciate it. And it's been very nice to hear from you. I wanted to make this video, first of all, because I think there's a lot of people that have a distorted perception of what I do, maybe based on sound bites or based on headlines of articles that are disparaging. The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation, specifically about 2 episodes, a little bit about some other ones, but specifically about 2. One with Dr. Peter McCullough and one with Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Peter McCullough is a cardiologist, and he is the most published physician in his field in history. Dr. Robert Malone owns 9 patents on the creation of mRNA vaccine technology and is at least partially responsible for the creation of the technology that led to mRNA vaccines. Both these people are very highly credentialed, very intelligent, very accomplished people, and they have an opinion that's different from the mainstream narrative. I wanted to hear what their opinion is. I had them on, and because of that, those episodes in particular, those episodes were labeled as being dangerous. They had dangerous misinformation in them.
So
the problem I have with it...
Stop. So for one, yeah, they can. Even if someone is accomplished, doesn't mean that they won't lie or misconstrued or say things that are dangerous. That is true. You can absolutely 100% do that. Also, a cardiologist is not a virologist. They are not an epidemiologist either. They're not. So it's just like, I mean, you could say all that. That's great and everything. But the pandemic, COVID, and all of those things are not like their field. They can talk about the heart specifically, sure. But saying that this is like some sort of like really like they're really like credentialed and everything in this field specifically, which is epidemiology and virology, is just not true, because that's what they're going to be speaking on, and that's what they did speak on, and that's what they did speak on. Robert Malone specifically like lies all the time about like the spike protein. We talked about the spike spiegel protein that will go into your heart and drop kick your arteries and will kill you instantly once you take the vaccine, which is just incredibly untrue. It's just not true. And he went on his Rogan's program and just lied about it. It's fine if he wants to talk about this sort of stuff, but he should either be educated or someone else who's educated to be able to fact check the things that people say on his platform, because he's not educated. He's not able to have these types of conversations. He's not able to have these types of conversations because when people lie to him and when people lie to his audience, it just slides right over his head. It just slides right over his head because he can't counter it. And that's what makes it dangerous, because they can talk all they want, but you should be able to fact check that real time to make sure that you aren't feeding your audience lies. Yeah, it's so weird. Everybody thinks that if you're skilled in one thing, it means you can like talk about everything now. It's so weird. People do the same thing with like Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, he's a psychologist, right? He's like a trained therapist and a psychologist, but that doesn't mean he can talk. What was he talking about recently? Climate change and like gender, endocrinology. He can't talk about that type of stuff. That's not his field. But people try to say, listen, oh, he's so he was like a professor. Okay, that doesn't mean he can talk about everything. He just can't. He can't do it. But people think that, oh, if you talk about one thing, now all of your credentials just like go over to everything else, and everything that you'll say is going to be like of some importance or like smarter than what your average person would be able to say. That's just like not true. It's not true. It's just not true. Also, if you didn't know, Robert Malone is also Post Malone's uncle, and he smells like spoiled milk. Many people are saying this.
Information in them. The problem I have with the term misinformation, especially today, is that many of the things that we thought of as misinformation just a short while ago are now accepted as fact. Like, for instance, 8 months ago, if you said, if you get vaccinated, you can still catch COVID and you can still spread COVID, you would be removed from social media. They would ban you from certain platforms.
What are you saying? That is so untrue. Trust me, bro. Crack pipe. He just took it right off screen. It's in his pocket. The crack pipe that he just took for this take. It's just not true. No, for one, no, they wouldn't. And two, ever since the vaccines came out, you were given a percentage. Never have I heard like someone who's talking about like a doctor, an epidemiologist, a virologist, someone who's like who's like trusted when it comes to the vaccine, said this is a 100% cure for COVID, and nobody who takes this vaccine will ever get COVID or ever be able to spread. It's just lie. That's just a lie. That's just a lie. And it's very easy to say that because of what these people said, instead of, oh, it's possible for you to get COVID. It's like, these vaccines do nothing. They won't help. And so there's no reason to take it. That's what you said. That's what these people said. And now they're trying to misconstrue it as they were actually having some form of like nuance, and instead of just lying, which is what they were doing. Like the ranges between like the effectiveness of the vaccines range between like 96 and 70%, something along those lines. But no matter what, it will stop you from having a more severe reaction and stop you from being able to spread COVID as prolifically as you could if you didn't get the vaccine. This isn't controversial. Everybody was able to say this. No, this has never been something that's controversial. What they want to do is make it seem like their takes were more reasonable than they really were, because they just want to lie. You just want to lie. You were not banned from social media for saying this. Real. Like Dr. Fauci said this. He said this on live TV the entire time. Get your vaccine. It's going to reduce your likelihood of getting COVID. It's going to stop you from having the worst symptoms if you do get COVID. Nobody said that you couldn't get COVID if you took the vaccine. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. Every time, and months ago, a year ago, every time they talked about it, they were like, this is going to reduce your risk. This is going to stop you from going to the hospital. Or if you do go to the hospital, it's going to stop you from having the most severe symptoms. This is the normal take that everyone had. What they want to do is try to lie about the past to make it seem like the present was a lot more reasonable than it actually is. It's just really sad. Why do this? Just be honest. You were like the vaccine's going to turn you into an iguana, and it's going to do nothing regardless of COVID. Just drink some orange juice and some apple juice and go on like a 10-minute run and you'll be fine. That just say that's what you said. Just own it. How you say things on your platform, and then like not, and let's stick by it. I'm being a little hyperbolic when it comes to the iguana thing, but the other things, yeah.
Now that's accepted as fact. If you said, I don't think cloth masks work, you would be banned from social media. Now that's openly and repeatedly stated on CNN.
That's not true. They don't say that cloth masks don't work. What are you saying, man? What's happening? What world does this man live in? How do you just sit here and just lie? He's so rich. He has so much money. He has more resources than any of us could even possibly imagine. And yet he still decides to be dumb. It's wild to me. This takes so much. You know what? It's honestly kind of impressive. It takes so much willpower to have all of the access in the world to all of the information that you want and still decide to choose to be dumb. It blows my mind, honestly. Truly. A marvel. Truly a marvel. Joe Rogan understand words challenge impossible difficulty. Impossible difficulty. Cloth masks do work. They are better than not having a mask at all. Cloth masks are not perfect. Cloth masks are, everyone always said like an N95 mask is like the pinnacle, like best thing that you could possibly do. Like you can fidget with your mask a lot. If it's like a cloth one, you're more likely to like touch things and then touch the mask again, like bringing like germs like to your face. That can happen. Nobody said that this wouldn't happen. And you know what? That's exactly what these people try to bring up when it comes to them saying that like Fauci said that the mask would like never ever work. He never said that. That never happened. He was more skeptical about them. He said that your average person is more likely to not get work from them because they wear them like a dumbass and they touch them and fiddle with them a lot, making it more likely for them to touch something and then touch their eye or like touch the mask and like touch their like nose or their face or something, which is true, but they're still helpful than not wearing anything at all. It's like the nuance just completely slides off of these people's brain, just shoop, makes a cartoony like slide whistle sound as it goes by. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's so weird. Can we like a little nuance, please? Just a tiny bit, a smidgen. Can I get a little bit as a taste? Just a taste, please. Oh my gosh, what happened? Holy crap! Everything just went crazy here. Look at that chain.
If you said, I think it's possible that COVID-19 came from a lab, you'd be banned from many social media platforms. Now that's on the cover of Newsweek.
Stop. Lying. Please, I beg of you. History just means nothing. History means little. History never existed. History can be what they're holding the gauntlet. History can be whatever I want. That's not what people said. They said, you know what people said back in the day? Here's what they said. They said Xi Jinping was busy trying to create the Kung Flu so they can like study it and then make it super effective so it can only kill Americans, okay? What they were going to do, they were going to ban burger from China. And so us, when we always eat burger, it was going to kill only people who eat burger. So it targets Americans so they can have us all like either like dead or we'll all be speaking like Mandarin Chinese by 2030. Okay, so they made it in a lab and they were going to release it, but instead it accidentally got out. And now it's like roaming the world and destroying everyone, and they're trying to hide it. That's what you said. Okay, that's what these people were talking about. It was not, oh my gosh, it may have come from like a lab or something. That's not true. That's not true. That's not what people were saying. And still, it's nowhere near confirmed that it came from a lab. It was simply, they could have been studying it and it could have escaped from a lab. And it's just a hypothesis that's out there. But people try to run with this, and what they once again try to say, to stoke more like xenophobia, to stoke more like people hating China. Because a lot of these people who try and push this type of stuff either hate China or have stock in like Raytheon and other like weapons manufacturers and want us to like nuke Beijing, okay? And that's what they want so like green line goes up. That's what they want. So they push this narrative onto like their audience. That's it. That's what happens here. It is untrue. Was it made? See, that's the thing. People keep saying it was like made in a lab. That's not true. It was not made in a lab. If it was in a lab, they were just studying it like you do with viruses. When you study viruses, you take them and you go, I wonder what virus do. Maybe you're trying to find a cure for it or something along those lines. But what they try and say is that they were like trying to correct what, honestly, they think it was like Chinese Powerpuff Girls. Like Xi Jinping was in there mixing like sugar, spice and everything nice. And then like out of nowhere, they accidentally cracked in like the Sichuan peppercorn. And then out came goddamn COVID and they just like escaped from the lab. That's what they say. That's what they try and make it seem like. It's not true. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. That's not on the cover of Newsweek. It's just not true. Remember back when people said that it came from like bat soup or something?
This meme is very real.
All of those theories that at one point in time were banned were openly discussed by those two men that I had on my podcast that have been accused of dangerous misinformation. I do not know if they're right. I don't know, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely, I get things wrong, but I try to correct them. Whenever I get something wrong, I try to correct it because I'm interested in telling the truth. I'm interested in finding out what the truth is. And I'm interested in having interesting conversations with people that have differing opinions. I'm not interested in only talking to people that have one perspective. That's one of the reasons why I had Sanjay Gupta on, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who I respect.
The thing is, nobody's saying that you can't. It would be okay if he had someone on to be able to like live fact check or talk about these issues like during the podcast or something, or be able to like correct people if they say something incorrect. Instead, he just kind of like goes with it. He just lets them talk. And he's like, oh, I tried to correct them. No, you don't. I've watched like nearly every episode that was in my spare time. I've watched these episodes. I've watched like Joe Rogan before. No, you don't. No, you don't. Reminds you of like Dave Rubin. Like you go on and he's like, wow, that's wild. Huh, wacky memes.
Accused of spreading dangerous misinformation.
If you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no.
I do not know if they're right. I don't know, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist.
Especially now when people are talking about actual microchip being injected into your arm to see if you have COVID-19.
That's a strange one, right? That's a weird one. Isn't that weird? I'm a little curious, ain't it? We're talking about microchip? They're putting mini lays in the vaccine? Wacky.
Person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them.
Ivermectin alone, if properly utilized, is capable of driving this pathogen to extinction.
But I try to correct them.
So if you're in a high-risk area, you take it and it'll protect you.
Again, I'm not trying to promote misinformation.
And they're trying to say that children need it. When they don't need it.
So if I pissed you off, I'm sorry. The podcast is...
I've never seen a camera with this much quality. This camera, like there's 8K, 16K, 32K, 64K. We're running out of numbers. Like the number of pixels that we're able to capture this in is quickly reaching infinity. I'm not even sure if we could like count. Scientists, mathematicians have ran out of numbers. We've ran out of numbers to count how many pixels that we've been able to catch this man is. Like, just come on. Sorry you're mad. Oopsie.
This meme is very real.
Was this wrong about COVID vaccines? Yeah, we went over this. Yeah, we did a video on this. Yeah, we did a video on that before. A very specific thing. You would know if you're a real fan. Wild how that works, isn't it? Crazy how that works, isn't it? Then I tell them that they're wrong. Listen, little kids don't need it. If you're like under 30, you don't need it. And also there could be even microchips. Many people are saying that there could be even microchips in there. Wild. Who could have seen it coming? People who haven't seen it? Yikes. Yeah, nice save. Little pixel collage. Wild memes, I have to tell you. Microchipped up on a Thursday afternoon. Spotify goes bankrupt. Yeehaw! Yeah, I'm just having interesting conversations. Just interesting conversation. Come on, interesting conversation. Like ivermectin will literally abolish COVID. Many people are saying this.
Very much, and I really enjoyed our conversation together. He has a different opinion than those men do. I had Dr. Michael Osterholm on at the very beginning of the pandemic. He is on President Biden's COVID-19 advisory board. I had Dr. Peter Hotez on, who is a vaccine expert. I'm interested in finding out what is correct, and I'm also finding out how people come to these conclusions and what the facts are. Now, because of this controversy, and
why does Joe value contrarian opinions so much? It's a very liberal framework where it's like, you ever see someone who's like, people on my left and people like like they hop up onto the lunch table and then they shit and piss their pants, and then people on the left and the right laugh at them for pooping their pants, and then they go, looks like I triggered both the left and the right. I seem to be on the right path. It's kind of like that. If you're saying something that's just so stupid, that's just so out there, that it just has to be interesting. Simply because it's different. Simply because it's different from what you expect means that it not only has like an inherent value outside of like other positions, but now it must be like listened to or something along those lines, right? Where I can understand the idea of, the speech that is the most controversial is the speech that must be protected the most under free. Sure, fine. Nobody's talking. This isn't like a free speech issue here. This is a platforming issue and a use of your platforming issue and being able to correct misinformation issue. That's what this is about, not free speech. The government isn't going to crack their heads in, okay? There is no free speech part of the First Amendment that says that you now have to be able to like walk into anyone's house and walk onto anyone's platform and be able to say whatever you want. That's not what the Constitution with the First Amendment says. This isn't a free speech issue, all right? This is a platforming issue and how you platform people in that issue. And a lot of people, a lot of liberals kind of don't give a shit about like platforming, don't give a shit about like the damage that they could do with their platform. It doesn't really matter because what they like is the idea of just like people being able to say things that are just different, and that has an inherent value in and of itself, no matter what they're really saying. So someone could just, it is the idea, of like Biden could mandate like not shitting in your pants, and then conservatives will just start shitting in their pants out of spite. They'll just do those things, and then Joe Rogan will have someone on his podcast, and they'll be like, I can't believe they've taken away my freedom. And in the podcast, he'll like shit his pants, it'll just like diarrhea squirt like down the chair and everything. He's like, oh, that's really interesting. You smoke weed? It's just like one of those things. Yeah, farting and shitting your pants on the lip. True. I'm telling you, with a lot of these, especially like these days with a lot of these conservatives, they would eat a shit sandwich if they knew that a liberal would smell it. That's just like how a lot of these people work. It's kind of just like it's very childish. There's nothing inherently wrong with a contrarian position. How we take that position, where it comes from, and how we platform it and how we talk about it are the important things here, not simply the position in and of itself.
I'm sure there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes with these controversies, but Neil Young has removed his music from the platform of Spotify, and Joni Mitchell and apparently some other people want to as well. I'm very sorry that they feel that way. I most certainly don't want that. I'm a Neil Young fan. I've always been a Neil Young fan. I'll tell you a story at the end of this about that. One of the things that Spotify wants to do that I agree with is that at the beginning of these controversial podcasts, like specifically ones about COVID, is to put a disclaimer and say that you should speak with your physician and that these people and the opinions that they express are contrary to the opinions of the consensus of experts, which I think is very important. Sure, have that on there. I'm very happy with that. Also, I think if there's anything that I've done that I could do better is have more experts with differing opinions right after I have the controversial ones. I would most certainly be open to doing that. And I would like to talk to some people that have differing opinions on those podcasts in the future. We'll see.
Also, this doesn't just mean he'll have like an actual virologist on after he like has some like insane person who says that the vaccine's going to turn you into an iguana that he had speak for like an hour and a half on this program. This could also mean like he'll have like a virologist on, and then afterward, then he'll have the person who says that it's going to turn you into a interior crocodile alligator on afterwards. Listen, it's a differing opinion. We got to take a look at all sides. It's like tolerance paradox, where a lot of these types of people, they don't really care about the truth. They just kind of don't. The truth doesn't matter to them. They like to play with words. Words and the truth are like their playthings. Like, you ever heard like a conservative or something, like a Nazi, someone like that? Not saying that they're the same thing, but I'm just like throwing it around here. How will say just like something incredibly stupid, and you're like, how could you believe that? Sometimes they don't believe it, and they don't need to believe it. That's not, honestly, there's a big reason why a lot of like fascist organizations were able to get a lot of foothold in a lot of like European countries, especially back in like the early 1900s. It's because we love the idea of everybody being able to just say whatever they want. It's like so cool, and we think that you need to be protected no matter what you have to say. And then they'll like hijack that, and then they're literally like a virus. Okay, you know how like viruses, they like get into your immune system and they take over like white blood cells, and they'll get into cells and start using those cells to multiply for like other viruses and stuff. And that's what happens. They're literally just like a virus. Well, they'll get in and they'll use that like idea of like free speech and like 100% tolerance of just about 100% tolerance of literally everything, to use that to multiply, to take away that tolerance from everyone. The same way like a virus kills the host, and it kills the host like in the process in itself as well. The like fascist, anti-Semite people like this even will use those same tactics to just kind of do what they want. It's the frog and the scorpion. It's the frog and the scorpion. The scorpion asks the frog for its help getting across the river. All right. And the frog is like, okay, but like, don't sting me, because we'll like both drown if I'm like paralyzed and you sting me. And the scorpion goes, okay. Halfway through the river, the scorpion stings the frog, and the frog goes, why have you done this? Now we'll both drown. Lol, replies the scorpion. Lamau.
I do all the scheduling myself, and I don't always get it right. These podcasts are very strange because they're just conversations. And oftentimes I have no idea what I'm going to talk about until I sit down and talk to people. And that's why some of my ideas are not that prepared or fleshed out, because I'm literally having them in real time. But I do my best, and they're just conversations. And I think that's also the appeal of the show. It's one of the things.
That is true. It frames both facts and disinformation, both as like equally valuable, and equally understandable, and equally close enough to the truth. That's honestly one of the most dangerous parts about it. It really reminds me of these types of people, especially like Jimmy Dore. What he tries to do is he tries to frame people like hardcore, like crazy Republicans, and people like Joe Biden as like equally far from you, equidistance away from you on either side, trying to equate them to make them feel like the same. So when you go against one, it's very easy to go against another, even though in actual reality, even though we don't like Biden, I don't like Biden, okay? I'm a socialist, all right? I don't like Biden. Biden is far to my right. But at the same time, Republicans are even like way down the road. I need like the Hubble goddamn telescope to see them far to my right, okay? He is still closer to my political prescriptions, and still would is working towards what I would want way more than Republicans ever could ever or even dream of. They're not equidistance away from me. They're not equally bad. That's not true. They're not equally. I hate how the white balance on this video keeps changing. It makes me really uncomfortable. They're not like equidistance away from me. They're not equally bad. They're not, or they're not like equally questionable or equally things that it's fine to go like to one to the other. That's not true. It's not, and that's the real dangerous part.
That makes it interesting. So I want to thank Spotify for being so supportive during this time, and I'm very sorry that this is happening to them and that they're taking so much heat from it. And so now the Neil Young story. When I first of all, I'm not mad at Neil Young. I'm a huge Neil Young fan. I've always been a Neil Young fan. At a place called Great Woods in Amphitheater, and those fights broke out and stuff. I worked. So in case the shit hit the fan, sure.
Yeah, we're just gonna skip this a
So
little bit.
one day during a Neil Young concert, I signed it. and the lawn area is supposed to go and put these fires out and stop them. Fuck this. So I put my hoodie on. I collected my last check differently, other than right afterwards. I do think that that's important, and do my best to make sure that I've researched these topics.
Yeah, I want to make sure.
And definitely no hard feelings towards Joni Mitchell. I love her too. I love her music. Chucky's in Love is a great song.
I know what he's talking about.
I don't know what.
Like, I know these artists exist. I don't personally. I don't listen to their music, but I do think it was a good decision for them to be able to not want to associate with Spotify anymore. Oh, once again, people like a lot of like Joe Rogan fans and people like to my right piss and moan and shit their pants because you don't want to be associated with like a business anymore. You know, they are like a business, right? Like they're like being an artist. When you're selling your art, you are a business person. Business is important to you. Like people, like your image and all those types of things is very important. Honestly, to an artist, sometimes like your public perception and your image goes hand in hand with how like valued your art is. Okay. And so it's so weird. They always go to like this abusive relationship, like tactic where there is no possible way that you could ever disassociate from a business as a business or like a public figure for your own public reputation, for the way that you want to be perceived. You can't do that. Okay. And it's never their fault. It's always your fault for being in the wrong. You should always be associate with these people, and you should never be able to let go. Okay, you can't leave this relationship. There's no possible way you can do it, and if you try, you're a bad person and you're trying to cancel me. It's cringe. It's a really big like abusive relationship tactic that they're trying to use for actual businesses. It is the most childish.
What else I can do differently, other than maybe try harder to get people with differing opinions on right afterwards. I do think that that's important, and do my best to make sure that I've researched these topics, the controversial ones in particular, and have all the pertinent facts at hand before I discuss them. Again, I'm not trying to promote misinformation. I'm not trying.
So the thing is, okay, I can 100% believe this.
Meme is very
I can
real.
believe that he's like not lying and this is like genuinely him. I can 100% believe that. Okay.
This meme is very real.
Honestly, he sounds just like your average like normal person, or a little bit more weird than your average person. But at the same time, I can 100% see this. The big problem with Joe is he sees himself as just kind of like some random shitter who like, you know, talks his shit in his basement. He's not. I think he's more viewed than Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and ABC combined. All right. He is a huge person with a huge platform and huge influence over like our country and even like over our world. What he says is very influential. He's not just some person who gets 50 views on a YouTube video. Okay. He's not. And he could, and I think he even sees himself that way, is he's just like, oh dude, I'm just like some dude who talks. He doesn't take his platform as serious or with as much responsibility as I think it deserves. And I'm not sure if he's like internalized that, how important he is and how he handles his platform is for our country and like our world, like moving into the future. And this is like one of the big problems when it comes to like alternative media, which I think alternative media in and of itself is great. The thing is, it's a lot less rigorous. I don't like corporate media, specifically because it has a lot of corporate interest. The problem with like this type of media is even if you don't have necessarily like a corporate interest, you have an interest of making money. And that could be for like a lot of different reasons. You could like look past some stuff. You could like you can do things that are unscrupulous on like a holistic level because it could just be like interesting, or, you know, it could generate more clicks, or it's controversial. You could do a lot of those things. He sees himself, oh, I'm just like a dumb comedian. You're not. You could say, I'm not going to say he's dumb. I don't know. I don't know Joe personally. I'm not going to say he's dumb. But the thing is, you're not some average person. He has way more responsibility. And with his size, I think he should be held more responsible, more culpable, and more into a higher standard than even CNN, Fox News, the New York Times, MSNBC, because of his influence. His voice is more important, a broad sense of the people who listen to him. I think he should be held to a higher standard, specifically because of how influential he is. He doesn't see himself that way. And that's the big problem with Joe, is he just doesn't understand the gravity of his words and his platform. And it's way more serious than I think even I can explain. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Trying to be controversial. I've never tried to do anything with this podcast other than just talk to people and have interesting conversations. I didn't plan it. I can't believe it's as successful as it is. It was never really an idea that I had.
And that's like another, that's the big problem. Even if that's true, and even if I'm going to believe him there, even if that's true, that's not a good thing. Yeah. Like I'm just kind of dumb and I just like say whatever, but I just try and be interesting, you know? You got a lot of influence. Listen, with what did Uncle Ben say? With great power comes great responsibility. My man, Joe Rogan, has a lot of power and takes like almost no responsibility. And that's what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him dangerous. All I'm asking is just to be responsible. That's it. Just that's all I want. Is just to be responsible. I don't want him to like jump off a bridge or something. I don't want him to like fire all of his staff or like never speak into a camera again. Okay? That's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking for you to be a little responsible. That's it. To be an adult. That's what I want. That's what I want. Honestly, I think that's what other people should be asking for too. Just take what you do more seriously. Be serious. You can have fun and be serious. I take what I do seriously. I can spread information. I can lie to people. I can hurt people with what I say, and I'm nowhere near as influential as this man. He has orders of magnitude bigger than I am. Just be responsible with your platform. That's all people are asking for. That's it.
The podcast started off as just fucking around with my friends and having fun and talking. And then when it became popular, other people wanted to come on, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to talk to that person. Oh, he's interesting. Oh, she's got a cool book out. And then, boom, it's become what it is today, which is like some out of control juggernaut that I barely have control of. So my pledge to you is that I will do my best to try to balance out these more controversial viewpoints with other people's perspectives so we can maybe find a better point of view. I don't want to just show the contrary opinion to what the narrative is. I want to show all kinds of opinions so that we can all figure out what's going on, and not just about COVID, about everything, about health, about fitness, wellness, the state of the world itself. It's a strange responsibility to have this many viewers and listeners. It's very strange, and it's nothing that I prepared for, and it's nothing that I ever anticipated. I am going to do my best in the future to balance things out. I'm going to do my best. But my point of doing this is always just to create interesting conversations and ones that I hope people enjoy. So if I pissed you off, I'm sorry. And if you enjoy the podcast, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to Spotify.
Sorry you're upset that I don't take any barely any responsibility for my platform and for hurting people with misinformation. Sorry. Whoopsie. Oopsie. Whoopsie daisy. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. This can be a little good thing about capitalism sometime. All right. This can be a little good thing. All right. Where when it comes to businesses being scared of their image. I think that's great, honestly. And we can leverage that and we can use that. I think Spotify should be scared. I think Spotify should be losing money for this. I think Spotify should be bullied. That's the good thing about it sometimes is businesses can be so terrified of how they're perceived that you can change their image. And even sometimes the possibility of their image being like tarnished can also like whip them into action against poor actors on their platform and the way that they use their platform. I think that can be a really good thing. Businesses don't do what's right. Businesses do what makes them money. And if they're not doing something that makes them money, remember, they're corporations. Their job is not to do good things and not do bad things. They'll very happily do bad things if it makes them a lot of money. Something stops making them money, they're probably not going to do it anymore, and they'll honestly run from it. Once again, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their stockholders to make them money, and so if that's not happening, the stockholders get pretty upset. And so this is one thing that can happen. All right. Like if you really care, you can cancel your Spotify subscription. I never had a Spotify subscription, so I'm not gonna like get one. I heard that Spotify is kind of ass right now, so I'm not gonna like try or anything. But this is the one good thing that you can actually bully a lot of companies, and with Spotify's image starting to be dragged through the mud with people saying that the way in which people on their platform are using it to basically spread information that kills people. Because no matter what you think, at the end of the day, the reason why people are mad because this kills people, not because it's like they're not like mad at Rogan or Spotify because it's a funny meme or it's just something that they would like to do in their spare time. It is killing people. I have friends family members who've passed away way too early because of COVID, because they didn't care, because, other people didn't care to get the vaccine, or maybe they heard from someone. A lot of people, once again, get their news from a lot of alternative news sources, from people like Rogan. And if he's like dead, there may even be, people are talking about microchips in there. If you're like under 70, you don't even need it, dude. If you get that and you spread it to someone, even if it's just a slight more likelihood of you doing it, if that means if you flip a coin, there's going to be a higher likelihood you are going to kill someone. I've had people whose family members have passed away way too early because they've been in contact with people who could have been listening and think that they were okay because of something that they heard on Rogan's podcast. And I think that's bad. People aren't just mad at him because it's a funny meme. It's because it is actually hurting people. There are way too many people who have died in this pandemic. Way too many people who believe things that aren't true. And way too many people who are sitting in hospitals right now or have been like thrown into hospitals and have their like lives turned upside down because they've been fed misinformation and didn't know where to get good information from because everything's been so murky. Like the misinformation and the facts have been like have been displayed to them in a way that puts them on equal footing, making it more likely for someone to believe something that's demonstrably false that will hurt them, their family, or people around them. And it's good. Spotify should 100% be bullied, and this is something that's good. It's they're adding a COVID advisory board for podcasts now, so they can like look over podcasts and make sure they're not doing something incredibly crazy. They should be doing more. I think they should be threatening Rogan, so it's not just up to him to actually do something. So there's like a little bit of oversight to actually do something good. Once again, I don't hate Joe. I don't know enough about Joe necessarily to say that I hate him or that he's like an evil person. I don't think he's sitting there in his room like petting a white cat in a massive like throne like swivel chair in front of a desk with a big red button that says give someone's grandma COVID and kill them in front of like a fireplace, like petting his cat and I don't think that's true. I do think that he doesn't take his podcast as seriously as it should be. And I think he should be held more responsible for what he does and not just like he can't just view himself as just like some shitter with a microphone and a camera anymore. He can't. He should be held more responsible. And that's all I really want, honestly. That's all I really want.